This is the future.
As promised, here's the video wherein I will share with you my best warframes for each mission in the game. Do remember that this video is in no way want to dictate how you should play the game. I am just sharing my experience on how I farm stuff, or finish missions in the game fast and easy. I made this guide only to give you an idea of how to cheese every mission in the game using the right warframes and the right mod setup. There are lots of things to discuss in this video, so let's cut any long introduction and begin with the video. Before we continue, I would like to say that I won't be showing any demonstration for each warframes. I have included all the links in the video description if you want to see proof of how fast and easy can these warframes do a specific task in the game. So first, let's discuss Sabotage, Capture, and Spy mission. In Spy, I would suggest Ivara with the Infiltrate Augment. This is the easiest, or should I say, cheesiest way to finish every single spy mission in the game. With Prowl active, you won't have to worry about being detected by enemies and as well as lasers. The only downside of using a Prowl Ivara is that it's too slow even with a high power strength infiltrate build. The movement speed bonus is just not enough to move around easily on the map since you are limited to parkour like bullet jump. That is why I ended up with a max duration Cloudwalker Wukong. For those who don't know, Wukong's Cloudwalker will not trigger lasers and you can just smoothly breeze through the map with this ability. In fact, not only in Spy mission, but Wukong can also be great in both Sabotage and Capture. This warframe is the one I'm using to farm relics in the Void. Axxi, Neo, Lith and Meso. Just name the relic for prime parts and Wukong will help you out. I have included the link in the video description about this method. The good thing about this warframe is that it can also be used in Steel Path or even in Sortie Sabotage, Capture, and Spy missions. The build I'm using for a Cloudwalker Wukong is just maximum duration with some efficiency. And of course, don't forget to give it some survivability so you can use him in Steel Path missions or any high level missions. The key to surviving is usually using his twins to help you outkill enemies. Just bring a melee weapon that hits hard and you are good to go. Before we proceed to more start chart missions, let's discuss first Railjack missions. There are three varieties of Railjack missions right now. One is the usual skirmish. The other one is the new mission wherein it's just basically 5 minutes Railjack and then shifts to Star Char mission like Exterminate and Defense. And lastly, the anomaly that tasks you to board a sentient ship and kill all crews of it. What about Void Storm's squad leader? It's the same as standard Railjack mission but only with flashy blinding lights and the ability to crack open relics. For the skirmish mission, there's no other warframe I can recommend other than Levos. The main goal of skirmish missions is to destroy enemy ships, and Levos has this unique feature wherein Railjack abilities don't cost energy. Instead, they will have 10 seconds cooldown, and this is enough to wipe out every single small fighter with the Seeker Volley, and cast the other abilities of your Railjack until nothing is left. There are instances wherein you need to get out of your Railjack and sabotage crew ships, so I highly advise that you mod your Levos with some survivability. Gloom also works well with Levos since it will have a cooldown instead of an energy drain. The cooldown is just at a safe spot to regenerate your health and finish the skirmish mission. Just don't forget to bring weapons that can kill enemies faster like melee weapons or the almighty Kuva Brahma. In terms of Railjack missions that have anomalies or extra steps like Exterminate and Defense, I switch back to my old reliable Mesa. The level of enemies in Railjack missions don't scale too high that you can just kill them with a Peacemaker build. The same goes for anomaly missions. For those who are looking to farm anomaly shards for the Deimos stuff, or you just simply want more to get Capture or things to sell for platinum, or use the shard itself to feed your Helminth Munch boy, then I still recommend Mesa, but only this time, I'm using the subsume ability of the broken warframe called Xata's Whisper to kill the sentient faster. So far, Xata's Whisper is the fastest way to farm anomaly shards since it makes killing those sentients in anomaly missions a lot faster. Mesa is not the only candidate for Xata's Whisper. You can also put it to your favorite warframes to do anomaly missions faster, or better, you can also slap it to those warframes with damage bonus abilities like Chroma, Rhino, or even Mirage. However, I still prefer Mesa since she can just activate Xata's Whisper and Peacemaker the hell out of those sentient. But then again, this is just a suggestion since you will have to waste tons of resources for the Helminth system, and as well as you will mean max 2 loadouts, so that Mesa will be great in Railjack with Star Chart missions, and as well as anomaly missions. But wait, there's more to Mesa than just these missions. Open world bounty missions are also a walk in the park for Mesa except for isolation vaults in Cambion Drift, and the big boss fights like Orb Mothers and Eidolon hunting. Most of the bounty mission requires you to defend or kill a specific objective, and this can be done by Mesa without breaking a sweat with the help of her Peacemaker. You can also have a bonus of cheesing normal star chart missions such as Exterminate, Defense, and you can also do mobile defense or excavation. However, I don't suggest doing endless excavation and mobile defense with Mesa, since you will need something like a Frost Snow Globe or Limbo's Cataclysm. This is why Mesa is always at the top list of the best Warframes in the game. Not because she's a fancy aimbot, but she is very efficient in almost every mission in the game. That is why I suggest you farm a Mesa if you haven't got one, and I have plenty of Mesa guides in this channel that you can check out for each mission in the game. By the way, speaking of Isolation Vault, Octavia can still do good damage to the corn bots, but it takes longer right now. What I do right now is just go with an Assimilate Nyx with a Redeemer Prime, or I just use Nova with Cornbot Void Rig. Nova will slow the enemy cornbots and then Void Rig will just finish them up. Shevagath's Gloom also works with the cornbot, but I wouldn't advise you to do it unless you have enough resources, since it's better to just use Nova and Void Rig in this mission. Moving on, let's discuss the Steel Path version of Exterminate, Defense, Mobile Defense, Excavation, Disruption, and other high-level missions that I haven't mentioned earlier. First of all, let's talk about those missions that require you to defend an objective. There are two choices for this, and it's your decision whether you will choose either Frost of Limbo for the job. And take note, these Warframes are meant for team and solo plays in high-level missions that require defense. Snow Globe and Cataclysm are no doubt the best abilities in defending targets. In case wherein you need to defend that annoying sorty target, then Limbo's Banish is the key. In terms of Frost, you can build him for decent range and more focus on his Snow Globe ability. Adding more armor and power strength is good, but in high-level plays, you will mostly rely on its 3 seconds invincibility frame. The amount of health that Snow Globe has will just be there as a safety net so that the ability will always be active and protecting the target. And also, spamming snow on top of another Snow Globe will create another one with increased health value, and you can do this until you create a Snow Globe that can reach 1,000,000 health value. On the other hand, Limbo can be a defensive anchor, but you have to make sure that you have enough range for specific missions. If you are facing Infested or the Grineer faction in a defense type mission, then you can go all out and have maximum range Cataclysm build on your Limbo. While it's better to keep it a minimum range if you are facing Orokin and Corpus faction so that it will not get easily popped by gnarly fuckers. The same goes for excavation missions. Limbo and Frost are still kings of defense. The amount of range you put in their abilities depends on the faction you are facing. There are other missions in both normal and Steel Path star chart like Disruption, Salvage, Interception, and Defection. The goal of Infested Salvage is to collect anti-Zarim charges, which are cube-shaped, blue glowing containers that are dropped by infested enemies. These injectors can be deposited into vaporizer units located near the data consoles, which will then form a glowing vaporizer bubble that expands outward from the vaporizer unit. The room for this mission is quite small, and if you have a Nidus, you can just spam his lava, group enemies, and kill them with your virulence. This is the Steel Path version. However, if you are still farming Nidus in this mission type, you can go Coral if you have her. A max range Vauban makes this mission also trivial, or any Warframe that can survive and crowd control those infested. For Disruption mission, I always go with Inaros in the past. What the heck, squad leader? Why Sandboy with no skill? Well, you are correct that this Warframe has no skill. And the main reason why we pick Inaros is because of his high health value, which converts to good survivability when you add damage reduction in the mix. Whether it's normal or Steel Path, Inaros will be one of my main picks, since all you need to do is pick a high damaging melee weapon to beat up the demolished unit. Also, you will only need a Magus lockdown to stop the demolished unit from advancing. In fact, in normal star chart, I just use Wukong with the Cloudwalker setup for good mobility between conduits. There's another Warframe that is great right now for Disruption, and that is Wukong with the Subsumed Gloom ability. As long as you are not within the aura of the demolished, the gloom effect will not be removed and you can just command your clone to kill the demolished unit. The only problem is, if Conduit has energy drain anomalies, you will most likely have to conserve energy for the demolished unit fight, and you might also need the Magus lockdown trick in this case. But anyway, you can just leave the mission and run it again if you like. Take note, the Apollo node in the moon is the best way to farm Xi relics, and I often just go to a couple of conduits before leaving the mission and run it again. Or, I could just simply try my luck to farm Xi relics in the void. Check out the link in the video description, as I have included all the necessary guides like builds and tips. While in Interception mission, I just go with the max range Nyx right now because of her chaos ability. The noise arrow Ivara trick was nerfed to the ground, and Nyx is the better Warframe to do the job. However, there's another way to do a cheese interception mission, and that is subsuming Octavia's Resonator to any of your Warframe and go with max range. Resonator is the ultimate cheese also in defense mission if you have the resources. This ability does get rid of enemy aggression when it's on the field. Just a quick piece of advice. Always bring something to pop nullifier bubbles, as this will be your biggest threat in a defense mission. One good trick is bringing the trusty mitre with the neutralizing justice augment to pop the nullifier bubbles fast. If you have an extra Octavia, then might as well feed it to your Helminth system to get one of the best crowd control ability in the game right now. Also, I almost forgot the hijack mission. Well, any normal star chart hijack mission can be cheese by Inaros, and we all know that, but Sortie and Steel Path types are a bit of a hassle, especially those draining your health. One good way to do a high-level hijack mission is with a Chaos build Nyx. Just mod Nyx for long range and max efficiency so she can spam her Chaos ability. And then, try to add brief respite in your aura slot so you have constant shield regeneration needed to make the hijack target move to the extraction point. For the defection mission, this is a no-brainer Trinity cheese for me. Trinity can instantly heal a defense target with her blessing ability. The only thing you need to do is just keep the targets alive and survive. Just build for a decent range, high efficiency, and enough power strength so that your blessing ability will gain maximum heal and damage reduction buff. Now let's get into the boss parts. Star chart bosses are easily assassinated by either Mesa and Chroma on my part, but with a couple of exemptions like the three-headed infested in Deimos. Most of the time, I have luck killing this enemy with either Rhino or Titania. But when it comes to the fastest time to kill, Titania is the best for this mission. Just fly around and destroy the heads, and to make it faster, just use Zanuric's Temporal Blast to slow their movement. Other exemptions to Star Chart boss assassination are the Opololist, the Jordas Golem, and Zealot Prelate in Deimos. If we talk all about that in this video, then we will be making this topic a 1 hour plus video just talking about the how to cheese every assassination mission in the game. Instead of doing that, I will just leave the link at the video description on my guide, which showcases how to beat all the bosses in the Star Chart. Take note that all of the bosses you will see there are Steel Path Star Chart bosses, but you can still do it the normal Star Chart if you want. Again, take note that all I am sharing here are just advice and guides on how I cheese everything in the game. In the end, you will decide whether you will follow what I have said or not. Also, you might want to add that Glassmaker fight just in case. I will just add that in the video description also if you need help. And lastly, for the assassination part, let's talk about Orb Mother fights in Orb Valis, and Eidolon hunting in the plains. For the Prophet Taker, it's a no-brainer that Chroma is the #1 top pick for this mission. With high power strength and duration, plus umbral mods, Chroma can easily take down and survive the Prophet Taker. The only thing you need to do is equip your primary, secondary and melee weapon with at least 2 elements each. Make the fight a lot easier and faster to complete. I have also added a guide on Prophet Taker below, so you might want to check it out. On the other hand, I prefer to run Ghost when dealing with the Exploiter Orb. This Warframe's kinetic plating withstands all the attacks of the Exploiter Orb at max red line. The only thing you need to do is bring a weapon like Redeemer Prime, or anything with radiation damage to destroy the weak spots of the Orb Mother and kill it. Many would suggest just go with Inaros, but I prefer Ghost because of his speed, especially that I'm always running this solo. Mac Rush is so good in the open space when you need those thermofractures to heat the Exploiter Orb. Again, there's a guide about this in the video description below. For the Eidolon hunting, I advise you to step away from Steel Path Eidolons because it's not worth it. You will only get Steel Essence with a bunch of stuff you can get from the normal version. There are a couple of Eidolon hunting setup I have in this channel, ranging from solo to team-oriented. The top of the food chain is probably Volt, since you can easily take down the shields of Eidolon using his electric shield. But you can also go with Chroma or even Mirage right now, and mind you, Eclipse is better in my opinion right now, as the damage buff works while you are under the light of the moon in the plains. But there are also the likes of Oberon for solo hunting, and even Trinity with Eclipse is so much better right now for solo hunting without needing any high-end Riven mods from your weapon. Hell, you can even forget all the things I've said and just focus on Trinity. Having a good solo amp, which you can check out how in the video description, and use your resident cornbot, Void Rig, to dismantle the Eidolons. You can even do this in solo Steel Path, but it would take some time. The best advice that you just stick with a team or solo normal Eidolon hunting if you want to farm stuff at the fastest time possible. Next stop, let's discuss endurance runs and arbitrations. Now I have a favorite frame for endurance run survival, but honestly, all of the Warframe available in the game can be played in survival runs given with the right build and setup. Most of the new viewers here are kind of sad that most of my guides are not newbie friendly, and I don't intend to be making one, since, in the end, you will have all the necessary stuff that I've shared here once you know the ins and out of acquiring platinum in the game. Most of my builds here are endgame ready, or so as they call it, and they can be played in any high-level missions. Just scan my playlist, and you will see your favorite Warframe having a build to go up against high-level enemies. But at the moment, I'm not doing any long endurance runs without a reason anymore. Over the past years, I've grown out of my addiction to smacking high-level enemies until Warframe doesn't have any level to offer them. It was great during my junior years, but now, I'm more focused and having fun with creating more fun combos that you can enjoy in the game. That is why you only see more a few times doing long endurance runs, and when I do it, I'm usually farming resources in Steel Path Mission with my Cora. Steel Path Survival is my go-to when it comes to farming resources for the Helminth system, and Cora is my main gal for farming these resources right now. With a Pilfering Strangledome paired with accumulating Whipclaw build, Cora can easily whip and kill enemies. In case you didn't know, Cora has been buffed by a little after the Call of the Tempestari update. Her Whipclaw line of sight checks is now a little more generous. Small obstacles will, like small rocks or detailed floor geometry, will no longer block Whipclaw's explosion. Enemies that hide behind cover will not be hit by Whipclaw if you hit the front of the object that enemies are hunkering down behind. However, if you strategically hit beside them, you will vanquish your foes. Because of this, Cora is again my top farming Warframe, and I mostly use her in long high-level survival runs to farm resources in the game. But that's not all the benefit of using Cora. She can also be great in the Sedna arena, even in the Steel Path mode of Odianoy. Just drop her dome and crack every enemy with your Whipclaw, or bring a weapon like Redeemer Prime to conserve energy, especially with that low ability duration modifier. Cora is my best Warframe for farming Endo in Sedna Arena, but if you are just unlocking the nodes in this realm, then you can just use a fatal teleportage to kill enemies without breaking any sweat. And then we got the Sanctuary Onslaught. This is probably the home of Sarin, as she can literally nuke this mission with her spores. But there are instances wherein an explosive Legion Mirage is also good. Also, Whipclaw Cora can murder the enemies in the Elite Sanctuary Onslaught. The same goes with Baruch if you want. There are probably many choices in here, but the only reason why you would want to go into Elite Sanctuary Onslaught after farming all the stuff in here is that you are leveling your weapons. You don't want to be a Sarin in this case, since you won't get any affinity points for your weapons. Best that you go with the max range Vorban Subsume with the Spectro Siphon ability by Gara. So what's the purpose of Sarin in this mission, squad leader? It's one way to farm focus points if you don't like Eidolon hunting, and also, some would just like to help out others level up their weapons and farm relics and stuff at the same time. The Vandal parts on this mission do sell for some good amount of platinum, so it's always good to do this with Sarin while farming focus points. By the way, you can also use a max range Spore Sarin in Steel Path Exterminate mission right now. It would be much better if you use a Gloom Sarin, since it will provide more survivability to this Warframe. What about Kuva mission, Syndicate mission, and Void Fisher missions, squad leader? I don't usually get low in Kuva, as I'm doing Steel Path survival almost every time using my Cora to farm resources. In the process, I acquire lots of steel essence which I can convert to Kuva in Teshin. But if you want to do it, then simply pick a defensive or stealthy warframe like Limbo or Loki. Stealth boy Loki is preferable since he also got a defensive ability with radial disarm and its augment. Ivara also works, but you got to slap Resonator on her. In fact, you can just go in arrows and slap Resonator. All you need to do in this mission is finish the regular mission, and have decent survivability and crowd control so no one will bother you while destroying the Kuva Siphons. For Syndicate Mission, I'm usually running it with any warframe I want, but I always have loot detector in my build for those Syndicate medallions. Limbo is my best choice for this game mode, or even the broken warframe so it can easily destroy those crates and I will be able to detect those medallions easily. While for the Void Fisher missions, I'm kind of picky on what mission I'm doing. This is basically the best way to earn platinum through selling prime parts that you get from these missions. What I usually do is pick Exterminate, Capture, or Sabotage mission to hasten the farming process. For these types of missions, I just use my nuke discharge vault to nuke a room and get all those reactants then finish the mission. How about Kuvalich hunting squad leader? There are currently numerous set up for Kuvalich hunting, but my most use is Mesa since she can also lessen the burden of murmur farming. Or, you can just even use the Cloudwalker Wukong and be wise in farming murmurs. What I usually do is farm murmur easy to finish missions like Exterminate, Sabotage, Capture, and Spy when a Requiem is almost full. If not, then I go with survival missions first to fill it with murmur first. Or you can just simply do all those easy missions until a leech spawn and expand his or her territory and select those types of missions again. I have put up a detailed Kuvalich farming guide that is still working until now, and I advise you to check it out in the video description. Take note that it's a solo-oriented guide, and murmur farm is still faster with a team. In terms of the element to use against Kuvalich, well, I think corrosive is the best since they have ferrite armor. Although it's just a variable and even if they are immune to corrosive, it is still neutral against them since they are weak to it in the first place. Before you go, I would also like to include conservation, fishing and mining in this guide. For conservation, I always go with the Sleep Equinox. Just mod it with high range and sleep will do the rest. This always gives me perfect capture most of the time and it's way easier than having to go with Sleep Ivara. Don't get me wrong, Sleep Ivara is another good option, but it's easier to just cast Sleep and then go get the animals. Ivara though is safer since she can go invisible. For fishing and mining, I don't want to get bothered by those pesky enemies, that is why I always choose frames with invisibility. For mining, I always go for Loki modding with max duration and high efficiency for his invisibility. In terms of fishing, I just go with Prowl Ivara. Squad leader, you almost forgot about the index. Yes, right. I'm sorry. So basically Rhino is still the way when it comes to points preservation. All you need to do is mod him with enemy radar and some power strength and armor for his iron skin ability. And then, use up a hybrid melee weapon like the Redeemer Prime, Crone Prime, or anything that hits hard. I don't advise you going with high level unless you are farming for the John Pridman posters since your only goal here is to farm credits after unlocking Nidus. Also, Peacemaker Mesa is a good choice but you need to bank every 10 points so you can manage the energy drain. Honestly, I don't do index run right now since I can farm lots of credits using Chroma in the Profit Taker fight. In terms of the John Pridman poster, well, I have one and I don't intend to farm more since it's only a piece of paper that you can slap in your orbiter. So these are all my best warframes for each mission type in Warframe. Do remember that I only made this guide as a reference and in no way would I want to dictate how you play the game. For questions and suggestions, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. Squad leader signing off.
Evolution. This is the future.